Hello everyone, Sam here. How are you all doing? Now before I start this video, if you're already wondering why does he have about 1 million jumpers on, now let me tell you, it's getting very cold here in England, getting towards the winter time now, and we're doing all we can, me and my missus, to not put the heating on. Okay, now we're trying to set a task for some reason, probably cost cutting, but we thought, why not? We're going to try and set a task till December, and I thought we'll put some more layers on. So if you're asking, why is he wearing so much? Why does he look like the Michelin Man? I think I've got 3 jumpers on under this, so I'm certainly nice and warm. But anyway, so I want to talk today about how my struggle with OCD felt. How did it really feel? It's going to be quite a real video, quite straight to the point, no wishy-washy, no beating around the bush, quite straight, quite firm, quite straight to the point. All right. Now, my OCD journey, I don't like comparing with other people, but I put it up there with sort of in the 5%, 10% sort of worst cases, chronic OCD wise, meaning that I was really struggling to function. My dog jumps up. I said this before in previous videos, he doesn't like me talking to a camera because he's looking around thinking, who are you talking to? But anyway, I put myself in that category because, I was really struggling to function. Certainly by no means the worst, of course, but there's no such thing as the worst. Each case of OCD is sort of very different in its own way, quite unique. The journey is very similar and the relatability is very similar, but of course everyone's in different situations. People face all different challenges in life. But it's a very challenging journey. Functioning was very difficult, very debilitating. Crying most days. Constant reassurance, exhausting confession, just that mental battle, that mental prison, felt like mental torture. From the minute I woke up in the morning, from the minute I went to bed, my brain was just automatically scanning. Felt like I couldn't get out, felt trapped. I felt my mind was broken. I thought I was going to be in the guilt cycle forever. I thought there's no way out of that. Right, so it was a very challenging journey, and I'm sure you can relate to that in many, many ways. So how did it really feel? So if I talk about my feelings, it was just I felt like there was no point to anything. And that was, yes, a form of depression, very low mood. I couldn't get excited for anything. I couldn't look forward to anything. But that's not from a point of, you need to look forward to everything. You need to be excited for everything. But, the analogy I often use is when I was really suffering with POCD, guilt-related taboo themes, real event, false memory OCD, harm OCD, all the scary themes that can be very difficult to talk about before you understand how OCD operates. The analogy I often use is if you gave me £1 million and said, Sam, here's £1 million, do whatever you want, whatever you want to buy, go and buy, more than £1 million. If I got whatever I wanted, I felt like, that just wouldn't bring me happiness. I was so consumed in the guilt cycle, ruminating 24/7. I just felt like nothing could get me out of that. Just the chronic shame was through the roof, just making eye contact with other people, just thinking, oh my God, if only you knew this, if only you knew that, if only you knew about this event 5 years ago, if only you knew about these thoughts I had at a really unwanted time, during times of intimacy, during times when you least want it. You might be talking to someone, quite a stressful situation in life. A lot of life events are very stressful, and you could be getting these really unwanted thoughts. You could be at important events such as job interviews or things that you find important yourself. For me personally, that would be big sporting events, big social occasions, music, things like that, where I really want to be present and in the moment and enjoy myself and take it all in. That is when OCD would usually ramp up, And that got so bad where I was virtually housebound. Now, not completely, I'd leave the house for work and things like that. But when I got home from work, I just wanted to crash, lie in a ball, curl up in a ball in bed and just cry my eyes out, constantly chase reassurance, constantly confess, Googling, just asking the same question over and over and over again. Now, I often say this a lot when I do coaching calls, and Rob says it a lot. When I first came on the calls with Rob, I was in tears virtually every call, pretty much screaming and shouting, saying, "No, you don't understand. Mine's real. Mine's the exception. Mine's different. I'll never get out of this. I'll never be recovered. I'll be stuck forever. I'm no hope. I'm treatment resistant." All these things that I now hear. Now, I was there. That was me. I was in your shoes. I fully get that. I lived like that. I lived my life like that for years. I fully experienced that firsthand. So I understand what it's like to be like that. I understand how low you can feel, how completely gut-wrenching it can feel, how it can overtake completely every emotion, everything that, whether it's a satisfying emotion, pleasurable emotion, anything that you remotely feel proud of yourself, any achievement in life, it can just go, nope, you're undeserving. This thing in the past means you're undeserving. These thoughts that you're having means you're undeserving. It can take over absolutely everything. You could be working towards a career goal. You could be working towards a hobby, pursuing an interest, pursuing a career. But OCD will just take that over for me and often make it seem pointless. What's the point? What is even the point of going for this career goal? Let's say I had a career goal of being a famous actor. Well, I say famous, being a successful actor. Really going to go for it. Going to go to all these auditions. Going to really put myself out there and apply for all these different things. Go to drama school. I'm just using a random example here. I could use a football example where I'm going to really go out there, get in really good shape, fitness-wise. We're going to really focus on, what I need to improve on the football field, and really give my attention to that, really focus on it, really concentrate on it. But when I was suffering with really chronic, severe OCD, that would just be completely taken over. And it's not just a point of demotivation, having no energy. Yes, they're all parts of it, but it was, oh, what about this? So what if you get to the top and then OCD comes and crashes it all down? Or the constant, if only they knew this, if only they knew that. So you could work all your life to be a successful footballer, successful actor, whatever. And then it'd be constantly in the back of my mind, lingering with the chronic guilt, saying, "Oh, you're undeserving of this. If only they knew this, they wouldn't be giving this compliment. They wouldn't be giving you this much money if they knew this. You'd be sacked if they knew this." And that constant over and over and over and over and over again rumination in my mind. And it just completely saps you, zaps you of all energy. Anything that took effort was like, nope, can't be bothered with that. Fuck that. I was going to try and go a video without swearing, but I want to be very real in this video. So it was like, nope, fuck that. But that doesn't matter, don't, what's the point? What's the point of even carrying on? And that's how very intense it can feel. Anything that's, the frustration tolerance was on the floor with me, very, very low frustration tolerance. So anything that was slightly irritable, anything that took a bit of thinking, a bit of grafting, a bit of effort, a bit of energy, it was like, I ain't doing that. Just really minor examples, very small examples would be putting my clothes away, after it goes in the washing machine, putting the dishes away, washing the car, hoovering the house. Very, very subtle things, very things that aren't much of a big deal at all, but they just felt like too much. And this is what I mean by struggling to function, right? I could go to work, but that was an escape at times, getting away from my brain. I was trying to focus on work. But even then, that was very, very difficult when you're getting bombarded by the thoughts, the guilt, meaning that, and even having a conversation with a colleague, an engaging conversation, I would be there, but looking through that misted glass, as we often talk about, where sort of a vacant stare, where I'd be looking them in the face, They'd be talking to me, I'd be sort of nodding along, but I'm 100 million miles away in my head, going over something in the past, or scared of something, if only they knew, thinking that all the time. Constant rumination, sort of, or triggers, just, you might have been triggered by something, sort of on the way to work, or I spent months triggered. I spent years just constantly triggered. That's how it felt, 24/7. You hear often people talk about, I get triggered now and then. I mean, at my worst, I was triggered from the minute I woke up, from the minute I went to bed. I was so scared with fears of POCD, harm OCD, just fears of it being real, fears of it being true, and it just felt like it was constant triggered 24/7. Just that never-ending ticking time bomb, which that's how it often feels. It feels so real. It just felt like my brain was about to explode on multiple times. Just felt like there was no way out. Just felt like I'd go from one end to the other, from one extreme to the other, just trying to find a way out. It's like being trapped in a maze, but there's no end to the maze. There's no escape. That's how it felt. Just feel like you're getting somewhere and then boom, something else. I often had that with real event false memory OCD. Feel like you was getting somewhere, finding the key to peace for that long-term freedom, and OCD would just shut all the doors. Any escape, any way of getting out, any avenue of getting out, OCD would just be shutting it off and keeping me more and more restricted. I have to make a cup of tea before I make the video. Now, I get so busy talking, by the time I go and have a sip, it's usually cold. That's one thing I can't stand, is a cold cup of tea. Ugh, horrible. I'm being very rational there, I know. I should say, I really don't like a cold cup of tea, but I can stand it. Of course I can stand it. I'm being very, I'm exaggerating the point by saying I can't stand a cold cup of tea. Not very nice at all. But yeah, that's how real it felt. I often talk about a lot, the realness factor was so high, to a point where I couldn't tell the difference whether it was real or not. I mean, if you could, it wouldn't be the disorder that it is. This community wouldn't exist. The WhatsApp groups wouldn't exist. The one-to-ones wouldn't exist. The webinars wouldn't exist. If we all could just say, yes, it's OCD, move on with your day, what are you worrying about, right? But it's that intense, not being able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not, that feeling like the exception, feeling like yours is different, feeling utterly convincingly real. That is what makes it what it is. Okay, mine felt so real to a point. I did a big message in the WhatsApp groups about this, of the realness factor. So mine felt so real to a point where, I thought the only way out, I thought the only freedom would be handing myself into the authorities, or just constantly confessing over and over and over again to get it all off my chest, to have that 100% certainty, to have that constant reassurance that you've done nothing wrong, that you're not a bad person, that you're not an evil monster, that you're not horrendous. So getting that temporary relief, but OCD would go, no, what about this? What about that? You didn't explain that correctly in the confession. And they didn't quite understand. So that means yours is real. Oh no, you're gonna have to confess again because they didn't understand that point. Their facial expression when you were telling them, they didn't quite understand that. So that means they don't get it. So that means you've got to go around that confession cycle again. That means yours is real. I spent years like that, absolutely years. And I'm sure you can relate to that if you're going through that POCD, real event, harm, false memory, all the ones, the really guilt up high. Intense guilt. Now, it's hard to explain how that guilt felt. I know you get it because you've been living it, but I often think, how would I explain that guilt feeling to a non-OCD sufferer? Now, it's almost like that someone's got the gun to the back of your head, and it's like, right, how would you react to that? Someone's about to shoot, and you're like, that sheer panic that you feel, that discomfort that you feel, that confusion that you feel at that time, it just takes your whole attention away, right? And this is why the analogy that I use with winning £1 million and it does not matter, and because you're so consumed in your own mind, you're so stuck in your own head that it don't matter. Now, the analogy we often use as well is when you fall off the back of your chair. Now, that moment between when you fall and before you hit the ground, that moment in the middle felt like that 24/7. And I'm not just saying that to exaggerate. That's how it feels from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed. Just on edge, more than on edge, just totally sort of all over the place, and just couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate on anything. It's like a vice, around the stomach, around the brain. Any bit of you might be let off the hook. Moment's peace. Nope. No, that don't apply to you. This thing in the past means it doesn't apply to you. These thoughts that you're having doesn't apply to you. That constant, you're the exception. Replaying it over and over and over and over again, analysing it, replaying situations, trying to find the key. And then I think I'd find the key, and OCD would hit me with another angle, and then back down that ruminating cycle again I would go. But a key point to remember is you can't just stop rumination. You can't just go, right, you know what, Sam, I'm going to stop it. That's not how it works, mate, because how it works is the rumination, the automatic cycle of rumination, will only start to fade and come down once we've worked on our beliefs. You've got to remember, rumination and OCD takes its orders from beliefs, okay? So if you're so scared of something, if you're so scared that you may have done a bad act in the past, if you're so scared that you are the feared person that you perceive you are, then that is why you're constantly ruminating about it. That's why it's constantly on your mind 24/7, okay? All it is you're scared of something. Now, you often hear it overcomplicated, very complex way of looking at it. But the reality and the simple reality of it is, OCD is latched because you're scared of something. All right? It could be with anything. Sensory motor OCD, for example. You're scared of a sensation, being stuck your whole life and always noticing that sensation and never getting out of that. Feeling trapped in your own mind because, oh my God, what if I notice my blinking for the rest of my life, my swallowing, whatever, my breathing, okay? With POCD. What if I feel like this forever? What if I feel like this guilt forever? What if I can never get out of that? With other themes, with sort of health OCD, and it all relates to that fear of being stuck and just never overcoming that, and never getting peace again, never being let off the hook. I remember a real event, false memory OCD, that felt so scary because it was like, oh my God, this isn't just a thought. This thing happened in the past. That means I'm doomed forever. That means I've completely got no chance, no hope of feeling better ever again because this thing in the past. Now, I often mention it a lot in coaching calls. I mention it a lot in my videos, in WhatsApp groups. It's that, and I can't hammer this home enough, your perspective in the now is keeping you stuck, not the thing in the past. Anything could have happened in the past. Nothing warrants chronic guilt. Yes, healthy regret. Yes, you can strongly condemn something. Yes, you can strongly disagree with something, whether that's an act you've done, whether it's an act someone else has done, whether it's something that just happens in life, okay? You can strongly hate something. You can feel passionate towards something. But when we get into trouble is when we then label that. We attach our value as that, okay? So let's say you're worried or you're convinced you've done something bad in the past, and that means you're totally bad, that means you're evil, that means you can never be let off the hook. Well, that's where you're going wrong. Rather than looking at it as, okay, I may have done a bad act in the past, that means I can look back at that and aim to not perform that behaviour again, aim to change from that, aim to learn from that. But you're never rating yourself, you're never writing yourself off as a human, you're never valuing or attaching value because of an act, right? You're not saying, that means I'm a total scumbag, okay? Yes, like I keep saying, you can strongly regret something and aim to learn from it, but when we're writing ourselves off, that is when the chronic guilt comes in. That's when the chronic shame, that's when you feel like your head's about to explode, as I've felt many times. The constant panic attacks, never being let off the hook, can't possibly have a moment's peace. Nothing else matters in life. What's the point of carrying on? All these things I felt on repeat 24/7. So I get that. I lived that journey for years. I'm going to take a sip of this cup of tea before it goes cold again. So, and you've got to remember that OCD will move around. It will morph, right? We got to expect it to do that. Now, what I often tell people now is you have OCD, right? You don't just have one theme and that's it. So it's not like you just have POCD, you just have harm OCD, you just have existential OCD, you have health OCD. Yes, it often latches to what we fear most, but OCD can latch to anything. You can hear all sorts of fears it can latch to, all sorts of scenarios it can latch to. All right, now going back to the point I said earlier, we don't have to overcomplicate that. All it is we're scared of something. Once we find what we're scared of, we can then start breaking down the beliefs. We can then start chipping away bit by bit of what's keeping me stuck. What is really keeping me stuck here? What am I scared of? Now, with that, that's not going to be an overnight fix. That's not going to be, right, I've seen a new perspective, sorted, get on with my life. No, it's going to take time. You've got to remember, you've got conditioned, rigid black and white beliefs that you hold from a young age, that I held from a young age. Very irrational. I was a very, very irrational person. Hence why I was on the phone to Rob crying my eyes out. I was very black and white, very, I'm trying to think of a word I haven't used already. Sort of quite, not aggressive, but sort of, there was no thinking towards it. Jump into conclusions straight away. Jump into sort of judging straight away. You've done this, that means you're a total scumbag. You can never be let off the hook. When I was holding beliefs like that, OCD was running rings around me completely. Having an absolute field day. Hence why it latched to the guilt-related themes. Because it'd be like, oh my God, what was that to you? And you're like, oh my God. And then down that rabbit hole I went. Hence why, I was stuck with the guilt for years. It took me ages to start shifting those beliefs. Now I have a very rational mindset on things. I observe. Of course, I've got opinions. I'm human. But I observe rather than go into that boom, 0 to 100 catastrophic, awfulizing, terribilizing thinking that we often go down. So, I'm going to talk a bit longer. I'd really want to elaborate how I felt. Now, I do have to put myself back to where I was, when I was in that moment, because my brain, not just my brain, but when you get better and when you recover from OCD, your brain sort of erases how you really felt. You sort of forget those memories. So I have to really sort of remind myself of how I was, because it's so easy to forget. And I often get reminded when I'm sort of out in public, out on holiday, at places where I used to get triggered, or I just get sudden moments throughout the day, throughout the week, and go, yeah, I remember this 4 or 5 years ago, and I was so stuck. I talk about a lot being at football matches where I'd have to completely fake the celebration, fake being happy, or very sad in my with the football matches I go to, my football team, Bristol City, or social events. Everyone else is out really enjoying themselves, or they seem to be enjoying themselves, having a good laugh, really confident, and I'm just there, just all over the place. And I just remember times that I go, bloody hell, like, remember when I was running off into the toilet crying, on the phone to my partner crying. All my mates would be out, it'd be someone's like maybe birthday event or like a big sporting event, big social event. I'm spending the whole time in the toilet crying my eyes out, and it's just things like fucking hell. I forget things like that, but I get reminded of it. Holidays and dreading holidays. I've got a few holidays coming up now and I'm absolutely buzzing for it. And that's not because I latch onto the feeling of being buzzing for a holiday. It's because it just naturally happens. And that's because I've worked on my beliefs and I've changed my perspectives on life. And I don't fear any setbacks on holiday. I don't care. For example, I'm going to France. I probably would have already gone by the time this video comes out. So I'm going to France and I'm absolutely buzzing. Absolutely very excited to see some of the tradition, some of the history. And, I'm really focused on things now where I used to be so vacant. Things just didn't really matter to me because I was so caught up in my own head. And that sounds very selfish, but that's what it can be like. It can be a very selfish disorder, very unknowingly, but that's how it can be like. I remember at times, I wouldn't be asking how anyone else was doing. People may be in hospital and I just wasn't seeing them. And that's not from a nasty point of view. It was just because I was so caught up in my own mind, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even feel like I had the effort or the energy to even think about things like that. Okay, so and we have to have compassion for ourselves because it's a very challenging disorder. It's very, very tough. Of course it is. I get that. But if you work with me, you'll know I'm a very tough love approach because I think that's what's needed. I think that's very vital to getting you better. I think my main priority is getting you better. Okay, that's what I want to do, right? That's what I needed. Rob needed to get me better. My missus helped me get me better. Okay, so we needed that tough love, but also compassion because reassurance just doesn't work. Being cradled doesn't work. Having that constant, oh Sam, you're amazing, you're the last person that would ever do this, ever do that, ever have that thought. It just doesn't work because OCD needs more than that. It needs a much deeper level of acceptance. It needs, reality. You can't live in like a fairy tale world expecting to recover from OCD, okay? It's very tough, but with the tools that we learn at OCD Recovery, and you can get in touch with us. If you email phil@ocdrecovery.com, if you use the WhatsApp link, I think it'd be in the link of this video, you can get in touch with us. Packages for the webinars and one-to-one services, very, very helpful, very customized. Join the WhatsApp groups, seeing other people go through the exact same journey. Different fears and different themes, of course, but people with OCD can really relate to each other because it's that realness side of it, isn't it? That's what really got me, just how real it felt, scarily real. When you're hyper aware of having groinal responses, all the different sensations and the anxiety and just different ways of feeling and the anxiety pumping away, and where it just nestles just out of reach where you can't tell the difference whether it's OCD or not, and that can just feel totally and utterly scary. All right, so yeah, it's very, very tough. I get that, but there is so much hope. All right, look at me, look at Nick, look at Rob, look at Momin, look at Phil, look at all the other people that do videos on this channel, Jade, Harley, Mark, Elliot, all the people on the Real Talks, talking about their journey. There is so much hope. I've made this sort of a mission in my life that I'm turning my suffering, my challenge into something good. Hence why I now pursue helping other people with OCD. That's the key. It's a big passion of mine. I'm very driven in that respect. Very motivated to see results. Of course, I know I can't help everyone. I get that because people do need to be accountable for their own recovery journey. That's probably not something you want to hear. I mean, me, Rob, Nick, Momin can give the best advice in the world. We can guide you. But at the end of the day, and the brutal reality is that you can only get yourself better. Okay? So you can have all the guidance in the world, but it's down to you to put in the work. And it's really great to see people putting in the work and seeing positive results. And it's an up and down journey. It's a roller coaster of emotions. All right, it's not something that's going to be a quick fix. It's not something. The low power mode coming up. The low battery. It's not something that's going to be a quick fix. It's going to take time. But you are in a great community, especially in the WhatsApp groups. The support's there. So it's down to you to get yourself better. Anyway, I think that's enough for me. I wanted to leave this about 30 minutes. I hope you've liked this new lighting. I've worked on this lighting because sometimes it can be quite dark, and I think this is quite good, especially seeing me with my 10 million jumpers on. keep me nice and warm. Next time, I'll have 10 million more jumpers on. I'll have a woolly hat and a scarf on and gloves. I'll be like, bloody hell, Sam, just turn the heating on. I'll be like, nope, every penny counts. Right, I think I'll leave it there. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave a thumbs up. That'd be much appreciated. And please leave suggestions, videos you'd like to see me cover. Please leave anything I've mentioned in this video you want me to elaborate on. Please leave a comment and I'll happily take a look. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then please do so. And once again, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com or use the WhatsApp in the link below, and we can book you in for a one-to-one session. Anyway, you take care. Have a lovely rest of the evening or the day, wherever you are in the world, or whenever you're watching this, and I'll speak again. Bye-bye.